I would part for you. Yeah, I just want to do a little scope on something here. Raise your hand if you cried when Sirius died.
Thank you.
Raise your hand if you cried when Dumbledore died. Raise your hand if you cry if Harry died.
Of course. It's too much. It's too much. Like.
But why is it too much?
Because, okay, although Sirius and Dumbledore were obviously very important characters, one was Harry's godfather, one was his mentor, you know, the whole wizard, you know, old person who always helps the hero. It's just like, they are important characters because they help him along his journey, but it's his journey and his burden to bear alone. So like, I just could not see him dying, ever.
Ever?
He can't die, it's because he's too cool.
Kind of like Jamie. Yeah.
That's a good reason too, but also, I mean, when you think about what J.K. Rowling, throughout these books, she's made very, very clear in every interview and throughout the books that it's the importance of the choices that you make is far more important than your abilities. So what kind of moral message would J.K. Rowling be sending if she killed off Harry, after Harry has done nothing but be a good, true, loyal, and honest friend?
I'd say that it would, you know, she could do it in like a sacrificial thing, like you said, you know, where he dies to save someone else. So her books do have, you know, intense moral messages in them. You know, the difference between right and wrong, good and evil, that kind of thing. So like, I can understand why she would do it from that point of view, but he's not going to die, so...
Well, you have to, but also, also you have to take into account the Drew Sparks factor, is what I named it. Emerson has a brother who is 8 years old, okay, and he likes Harry Potter quite a bit, and he's read all of the books, and there's some younger fans here in the crowd, and I just couldn't imagine the look on his face if Harry died. I mean, the post-Potter depression would be incredible. I mean, it's pretty bad as is, but imagine if the main character died. And Emerson made a good point about how take two characters like Harry Draco or Harry and Voldemort, and their choices, they grew up in similar situations, but the choices that they made have been different. And for J.K. Rowling to punish Harry again, you know, his parents had died, his godfather died, his Dumbledore died, and I would say his grandpa, but he's not his grandpa. So he's lost everything. Now, why does he deserve to die? I don't.
He'll do the same thing that Lily did. He'll sacrifice himself and that'll like protect Harry and Ron or someone.
But why does Harry have to be the one who makes the sacrifice?
No, that's good.
Characters will have to make sacrifices, but why does it have to be Harry? Hasn't he sacrificed enough?
Yes.
But why would you create a character where you do nothing but make his entire life miserable and then you kill him at the end of the like, that's not. But why Harry? Why can't somebody else? Why can't Snape sacrifice himself? Why can't other characters step up?
Well, Snape will sacrifice himself.
Snape's gonna die anyway.
Yeah.
We'll get to Snape. We'll get to Snape. We're down.
He should go peacefully. I think that's a big point to bring up. Now, hold on. I'm just on my Apple iPhone right here.
The one I just got yesterday, by the way.
I was just kidding. I wasn't trying to sound arrogant. I just want to quote something J.K. Rowling said. I'm on Mugglecast. It looks great on that Apple iPhone. But anyway,
I think Apple's paying him to say that.
Yeah. She said, "When I finished one chapter near the end, I absolutely have. It had been planned for so long. I felt euphoria, devastated." Yeah, she was completely destroyed when she finished this chapter. She'd been writing, or she had planned for so long. This is, I think, the chapter she's had planned since the beginning, because she said for so long that she's had this one chapter, 4 books that have finished before she even finished Sorcerer's Stone.
But that could just be because it's the final chapter of Harry
Potter. It's not the final chapter. It's not the final chapter.
Okay, she feels such a strong emotional attachment to this series because it's been her brainchild for so long. That doesn't necessarily mean that something bad happened in the final chapter. It could mean that she finally, you know, was like, wow, I'm actually done with this. I can't believe it.
And I guess, but it's something interesting to take into account when she's had it planned for so long, and yet she's devastated. She absolutely howled. It's emotional. I don't know if it could be
the entire book's emotional though as well. You know, she's going to howl, as you put it, because you know, right at the end, she spent all these years, you know, writing these books. It's going to be emotional whether she writes that Harry dies or all this, but she's finished. She's done with it. That's the end of her job. You know.
Would that be funny, seeing her howl?
I'd love to see her howl. Yeah.
Has anyone else considered perhaps Harry doesn't have to die, but maybe he'll have to make some type of sacrifice in another form, like giving up his magic? I've heard that a lot, but
no.
No.
Older than you saying.
No.
Actually, that reminds me of
Emerson might have already read the book or something because he seems to have it all figured out.
No. He's not going to give up his magic. That would be like the most depressing end of books I could ever see.
But what so much for your happy ending. I mean, who says the books have to end happily? I
do. They do. Joe and I are best friends, and you guys know.
that would be a fate worse than death, though. Going from having magical powers to none. I'd rather,
Right.
imagine knowing that world is out there and knowing everything you can do and then not being able to do anything. Kind of like filter,
Yeah. But also, what about Voldemort? I think that perhaps that Voldemort won't die, but Dumbledore continually reminds Voldemort that there is a fate worse than death. So perhaps Voldemort's
will lose
fate,
his powers. Yeah.
he could perhaps lose his powers, or maybe be kissed by a Dementor or something or other.
Or be forced to work as a muggle janitor or something.
That's a very interesting point. If he was kissed by the Dementor, because obviously he only has a main soul in his in his body, what would happen to him?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I haven't tried it yet.
We do see Harry and Voldemort on the cover, U.S. cover, but dueling without wands. So maybe they don't have to lose their magic necessarily.
Let's have a fight.
Well, because of course,
It's definitely not a fist fight. They're not having a fist fight.
because they can't duel because of priority and Cotton. And for those of you who've seen the movie, you know how when Dumbledore and Voldemort were dueling, how it wasn't like it was just normal magic. It became this super advanced magic where it was almost like they're battling with elements of the earth, and it was so much like they were beyond spells. Like spells are just so trivial.
I have to say this because I keep making this point, but if anyone's seen Pokemon, the first movie, you know when
Pokemon, the first
Mew and Mewtwo are battling right over the end, and they're throwing like these balls of elements and fire at each other. It was just like that. I thought people like that.
But as I was saying, perhaps Harry finally in this last book takes his magical ability to the next level, where he can actually survive a duel with Voldemort, where it's no longer the case where he's just a little kid who lucks out. I think we're finally going to see that. And book 7 will be the book where Harry finally grows up and becomes a mature wizard, because with Dumbledore gone, it's time for him to step up and take the reins.
So, in our book, we put forth a theory that was at first extremely controversial, and is still very controversial, but doesn't seem as quite the crackpot theory as it used to. Now, we think that on the night that Voldemort showed up at Godric's Hollow to kill Harry, we know that he planned to make a Horcrux out of Harry's death. Now, when the Avada Kedavra spell backfired, what we think happened was the Horcrux spell that Voldemort prepared, or would have had prepared, was released, and Harry was turned into an accidental Horcrux. Now, this is the part where a lot of you guys start going, those Muggle boys and their theories.
Yeah, last week, and it was like only a few days ago, we were in Los Angeles, and we brought up this theory, and we heard,
So, the reason why we think this happened, the crux of the theory.
he's so funny.